Jim A. Z Show.
Now, one of the things I noticed about your book as I was reading it is that while my blood began to boil and I became more and more outraged, your book is written with a very settled and even-tempered tone. And I wanted to ask you on a more personal level if you had to perhaps go back and rewrite a couple of things to keep that even-mannered, matter-of-fact kind of writing going on, because it was quite an accomplishment, if you ask me.
Yeah. So what are you asking me then?
Well, if you found yourself just as an author, if you're able to write that way as a matter of course, or if you...
Well, I just wrote it as I wrote it. I didn't even think about that. I do get worked up and passionate when I'm speaking or when I'm on the radio, and even a lot of times in the columns. I actually think that I was pretty incendiary in places like the introduction and the conclusion, but the facts pretty much speak for themselves in this book. They are so outrageous that they don't need a lot of editorialization.
Yeah.
I mean, editorializing. They are just so outrageous on their face that I think that if I overstated it, if I interspersed it too much with commentary, that it might actually contradict my purpose. I mean, defeat my purpose. I will let the facts speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I go on these interviews and C-SPAN callers will call and say you're a racist for saying these things against Obama, or you're making things up. I'm saying it has nothing to do with race,
no.
And it has nothing to do with making things up. Tell me what I've made up. And, of course, they never can come up with anything to contradict what I've said. There's almost 100 pages of footnotes in this, almost 400 pages of text, and I've been told it's very easy to read. It's gotten rave reviews. The name of it's Crimes Against Liberty. I'm not bragging about it. I am proud of it.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad to hear you say that it's not unduly incendiary, because I do have a tendency to get passionate and worked up when I'm doing interviews, because I am so passionate about it. I'm glad to hear that I wasn't, according to your estimation, that way so much in the book. I mean, I think it has its place, and sometimes I probably get over the top because I am so concerned that we're seeing our beloved country being destroyed before our very eyes, and it's an urgent situation, and I cannot overstate the degree of urgency that we're confronted with here. And so don't misunderstand.
Mm-hmm.
I am as passionate as is possible to be about this, but I want to correct this as a conservative constitutionalist, as a lover of this nation, according to the system, not in any other way. And for these guys to paint Tea Partiers as extremists or as people who are violent is so outrageously wrong and projecting. They are the ones who are violent. They are the ones who foment protests. They are the ones who are astroturf, artificial. We are from the bottoms up, grassroots, spontaneous, nationwide protest in the cause of liberty, in the cause of preserving the Constitution and the greatest nation that has ever been created and preserved in the history of the universe. And so we need to do everything we can to restore America's founding principles from a guy who can't stand America, who goes around apologizing for America, which has been the most benevolent nation in the history of the world. Does he ever say that? This guy wants to fundamentally change America. He has already fundamentally changed America. You don't fundamentally change something you love. Try fundamentally changing your fiancé. See how far that gets you.
Yeah. Well,
and so he doesn't have any pride in this country. He has contempt for the country, as witnessed by his voluntary attendance at a church whose pastor said GD America from the pulpit, and America's chickens have come home to roost when we got attacked at 9/11, who married a woman who says America's downright mean, who ran around with a terrorist who conspired to bomb the Pentagon, and who goes around saying how terrible America is reflexively every time he turns around. Let's foreign rulers come in here and badmouth America. Let's foreign nations file lawsuits against a sovereign state that's trying to protect its borders, and he comes down there and not only doesn't help Arizona protect itself against drug cartels coming in from the south, he joins a lawsuit against the state of Arizona and claims it is for racial profiling when the law specifically, expressly forbids racial profiling. How's that for getting worked up for you?
Well, it's incredible, and many times I'm doing my show Monday through Friday usually, and I find myself outraged by something new nearly every day.
Yeah.
And so as we look at America, and I grew up in a home where my father fought in World War II and in Korea, and I remember as a kid going down to Camp Pendleton and watching my dad out there on the hillsides. I'm thinking now that virtually, Obama likes to talk about the car on the edge of the cliff and that the Republicans want the keys. At the same time, he's the guy who has put the country and liberty on the cliff. So my last question for you today, and I really want to thank you for being so generous with your time, is come January, do you find yourself optimistic?
Well, it depends what you mean. If we win in both houses.
Well, yeah, I think we're going to win the House, but let's say we win the majority in the House and we come up a couple of votes short in the Senate. I like to ask people who come on my show if you find yourself optimistic heading into January 2011.
Well, I have to be optimistic or I would be in a fetal position. And,
yeah.
and seriously, I mean, I can't allow myself to think that we're not going to reverse this horror show that has been visited upon us. And I have to have faith. I mean, this country is so unique, and I believe divinely inspired, at least in the sense that the framers were God-fearing, largely Christian people who found this nation on Christian principles. And that doesn't mean I'm not sitting here saying, and therefore we're blessed and we're going to have God's guiding hand of providence and we're bulletproof. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's such a unique, wonderful nation that we've created, and we've got such a responsibility to be good stewards of it that I can't fathom the thought. I can't countenance the thought of withering away, allowing this great experiment in constitutional governance and liberty to be wasted. And so I will never allow myself to get pessimistic on balance, because as long as there's fight in me, I'm going to continue to fight to preserve this greatest nation ever. And I think you agree. We have to. And so to answer realistically, yeah, I actually am optimistic. I actually am. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very hard to undo what he's done, especially to keep conservatives in line and not to be fooled. The David Brookses of the world, the Christopher Buckleys who said this was a good guy. One of the biggest dangers we have, the biggest obstacles we have in turning this thing around is the naivete of our side who underestimates the capacity for evil and mischief of the other side. We have to recognize it and call it as we see it. We can't be afraid, Limbaugh, you're writing this book and you're as bad as they are. No, I am not doing anything other than chronicling what they do. And if we don't stand up for truth in the face of what's going on, then we can expect to be run over and lose this country and bequeath our kids a disaster of a nation. That's what we can expect. We have to continue to fight.
The mask, I think, for Americans now, the mask that the left has been wearing for many decades now has finally come off. And I don't think there is any point in time from now and through the future that the Democrats can claim to be moderate. We know what they are now.
I've been saying it for years, and I agree with you, but remember, things are fluid and people's memories are short, and it will be no time before the liberals in the Democratic Party convince people that they really weren't that liberal, that their hands were twisted. So never be sanguine, and always be vigilant, because we've been fighting liberalism since the beginning of time. This is a worldview issue we're talking about. It's never going away. Socialism, secular humanism, it's all relentless, and there's nothing that's going to stop it, because it's not derived from facts. This war we're having is not fact-based. It's worldview-based, and their worldview isn't going to change.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show, David. It's been a great conversation. I hope that all of my listeners will take the time to pick up and read Crimes Against Liberty. Everyone needs to know exactly how much has happened in the span of just 20 months. Thank you again, David.
Thank you for having me. I particularly enjoy your interview style and your class act. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy C. Show.